Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Dan here, and I just couldn't wait. I've only done, I think at this point, slightly below 100 battles in this machine, but I've already gotten a feel for how this thing plays, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give you guys the review a little bit earlier. So here we have the Tier 5 Russian premium tank destroyer, the SU-85I. So where can you find it on the tech tree? Well, it's right there. It's kind of hard to miss it. It's right next to the SU-100Y. It's bigger, much more destructive premium cousin. So I received this machine along with this one, the Churchill 3, after I found another gift card that I could use to basically cash in for gold, and I got these two while they were on sale. Uh, this one I got second, and I kind of just bought it because I just had the extra gold left over. I really didn't expect much of it, but I can definitely tell you that this thing was worth all of the gold I threw at it. Uh, just after the first 2, 3 battles, I knew I was going to love this machine. So, what do you get when you purchase this tank? Well, first off, it's actually I got it on sale. It was half price. Uh, Still, I would recommend this thing even at its full price as well because this thing is great. 2,300 gold. That's slightly below 1 month of premium time. Would I recommend this machine? Yeah, definitely. It is worth every gold coin you could possibly have. I full-heartedly recommend this machine to anyone who enjoys driving a relatively maneuverable tank destroyer. And if you're trying to train up Russian tank destroyer crews, this is definitely a machine you're going to want to have just because they've got, well, technically 4, but you can't get the other one. They've got 3 premium Russian tank destroyers that you can use to train up your crews. I just have these two mostly because I just thought they were going to be interesting, and I love both of them. So, for crew training, yeah, this thing's pretty good. I just have my crew for my SU-85I. I mean, SU-85 just put in here just in case I need them for anything. Uh, so that's kind of one of the main reasons why you'd want to buy this tank. The second reason is, with it being a premium vehicle, you're going to get bonus experience from every battle, and you're going to get a bonus. Basically, you're going to make extra money off of this machine as well. So, I do think, before I actually get into the review itself, I do recommend this machine. It does have some minor problems that you're going to have to deal with if you do end up getting it. Some of them are a little bit more of they're actually kind of major flaws, but do I recommend this machine? Yes. If you've got the coin and you want something that's going to be interesting, watch through the replay. Watch through to the replay. Watch it. Get a feel for how this machine is going to play, and then you'll be good to go. So, what do you get when you buy it, basically? 380 hit points. That is slightly above the average for most of the Tier 5 tank destroyers, beaten only by the British AT2, which has 450, if I remember correctly. It is a reasonably heavy tank, actually. I think, actually, compared to the SU-85, it is lighter, but I do believe that the horsepower to ton ratio is absolutely awful. This engine and this weight are going to make this machine very difficult to maneuver. Although it does say that it's going to get to 50 kilometers an hour and 48 traverse speed. It's very hard for it to hit the 50 kilometers an hour. You're going to see about on average, if you're just driving through cross-country terrain, you're probably going to be closer to 30, 35. You're lucky if you get to 40. It's still reasonably fast. I mean, compared to a heavy tank, for instance, of its tier, this thing is going to turn on a dime and is going to be at least somewhat faster. If you can get it on flat ground or downhill, preferably on roads, this thing is going to hit 50 reasonably quick. I mean, it isn't going to be instantaneous like with some light tanks or the E25. This thing's going to be more gradual. 48 degrees of traverse speed. This is the best traverse speed of any tank destroyer I've driven, which isn't saying much, but considering I've driven tanks like the SU-101, which was really, really good for traverse speed, and this machine as well, which I haven't really done as much in, also 40 degrees of traverse speed. This thing turns extremely quickly. On softer terrain, however, it doesn't like to turn as fast, but either way, it still turns pretty good. The hull armor, it's a tank destroyer. You shouldn't really be relying on this to bounce any shots. But if they go into the gun mantlet, you could expect some ricochets. Most notable weak spot on the front of this tank, well, it pretty much, except for the gun mantlet, this entire tank is a weak spot. But if you for some reason cannot penetrate it, this is a massive weak spot. This commander's cupola thing up here, this basically it's a tower. Yeah, shoot for that. Or here, or anywhere else, basically. Surprisingly, it is better armor. I can't turn it the whole way around, though. Better armor on the back than on the sides. It's a little weird. Obviously, you shouldn't be side scraping in this thing anyway. So, that's basically the armor. And this is the interesting part. So, I'm going to pull up this gun real quick. And we're going to go to the KV-1. And where is it? Yeah. So, I guess the easiest way to explain how the gun on this tank is, if you've driven the KV-1 or the KV-1S, you should be seeing a gun very similar. So they're both. So I mean, obviously this one isn't the one off the KV-1S, but this is the closest relative that I actually have. So they're both 85mm guns. The rate of fire on the SU-85I compared to the KV-1 is better. Penetration, there's not that much of a difference, only 1mm. Damage, exactly the same. Accuracy is exactly the same. Aiming time on the tank destroyer, however, is faster and the weight is slightly better. So, as you can see, the gun on the SU-85I is very, very similar to that of the KV-1 or the KV-1S. So, you basically, the history behind this tank is it's a German tank with a Russian superstructure mounted to the top of it and an 85mm gun. That's basically the history behind this tank. I just thought it was a little interesting. So, you basically, the gun itself is the one that you would get off of the KV-1 or the KV-1S. Which obviously there is no problem with that because this thing gets some buffs to it considering it's a tank destroyer. It will fire faster, aiming time is better, and it is slightly lighter. Not that that really means anything, but you can accelerate a little bit better. The gun traverse, I mean, it's a tank destroyer. It doesn't have a lot. The firing our gun isn't excellent. I've driven worse, but I've also driven better. It's a little narrow, but again, with the fast traverse speed and the relatively quick aiming time, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. View range, well, it's alright. It's better than the SU-85, which was absolutely awful, but it's not great either. And then you have your standard mid-tier Russian tank destroyer radio, which I guess is alright at tier 5. It does work at least. So that's basically what this tank is all about. That's what you get when you buy it. Now we can move on to what kind of equipment I would actually mount to the thing. So you're going to definitely want a gun rammer. I mean, this is what I usually do with any tank that I'm driving. If it can mount one, do it. I mean, there's really no question about it. Unless the gun already fires insanely fast, and it's low tier, I mean, that doesn't really matter. But for instance, like this, you just want to be able to pump out shots as quickly as possible. With a 100% crew and the gun rammer, you're looking at a little bit over 3.5 seconds, somewhere between 3.5 and 4. Really good. And then I just threw a camera net on it because I had an extra one. Then that's basically it. If you wanted to put something else on, perhaps coated optics or binocular telescope, just because the view range isn't the best. Additional grousers, actually, that probably would be very helpful, just because this thing doesn't like to handle well on the ground, well, softer terrain. And then improve vents. I mean, that's basically the technically 3 or 4 options you'd want. Improve ventilations, additional grousers, and then your choice between view range. But I mean, that's completely up to you. I'd probably recommend you just give the machine a try a little bit, figure out exactly how you play it, because it has multiple ways you can play this, because although the accuracy isn't that great, you can do some effective mid-range sniping with it. Nothing too long range, but nothing, you don't want to be up too close. Or you can basically be almost like a very unmaneuverable medium tank, which I've actually done in several city maps, and support your heavy tanks by being right there and maneuvering around and flanking people. This thing is very good at that. And just my standard things that I mount for like repairs and first aid. That's basically it. Ammunition, I don't remember exactly where this carried over from. I just threw it on. The penetration with the penetration on this gun is good for the tanks it's going to be facing. It gets preferential matchmaking, so this thing will never see tier 7s. The worst it's going to see is tier 6, which this gun can definitely work at. I mean, it can definitely take down a tier 6 heavy tank with, 89 to 149 millimeters of penetration. But just in case you come across something that's oddly angled or just whatever, a few rounds of APCR are probably good. And then for those lightly armored targets or just resetting your cap, carrying some extra high explosive is never a problem. And then for crews, I just threw camo all over it, just because this thing doesn't like getting shot at. I guess it's the easiest way to explain it. It's a tank. It's a tank destroyer. It can't get away very quickly, so it's best not to be spotted in the first place. But the camo without this is already surprisingly good. So, yeah, that's basically it. Once this reaches 100%, swap it out for 610s, just because that's what you usually want when you're driving a tank destroyer. So that's basically it for the garage review, and I'm now going to move on to a few replays for you guys, so I'll be back in a second. Alright, so here we are in one of the later games that I had. This one was actually kind of depressing, and you'll see why soon enough.
Let's get this show on the road.
So, basically, this was probably one of the 3rd or 4th times I have actually played on this map. So, well, with this tank at least. Obviously, I have had much more experience in this on this map than just with this tank alone. So as you can see, here I am already at approximately 30 kilometers an hour. This thing does suffer quite heavily when going uphill. As you can see, it slows down really bad. But on a flat terrain, you can expect this thing to at least get to a reasonably maneuverable speed in just maybe 1 or 2 seconds. And it's not like going uphill is the worst feature about this, the engine at least. It does actually work. So, as you can see, Uh, I did not have very high hopes for this game at the start, especially considering two of our heavy tanks were coming over onto this flank. I don't understand why the heavy tanks always just want to come over here. That really doesn't make sense. This is meant more for light, medium, and tank destroyers. And here I am just trying to position my tank so that way my firing arc is most effective. Our Churchill 3 is completely correct. Our team is loaded with a bunch of idiots. That T1 Heavy that drove halfway over here, actually, that's where he stopped. He went AFK for the rest of the match. So, we're already down one of our only heavy tanks. Our VK, I have no idea what the heck he's trying to do. So I'm just getting in a position where I can hopefully lay some fire into the side of this T-14 once he comes up over the side, well, up over the ridge. As you can see, going backwards, this machine for a low-tier tank destroyer isn't that bad. Next, I notice that there is what appears to be a stock KV-1. So, there we go. I am now about to unleash all of my firepower on this poor, defenseless KV-1. So there's my first kill, and as you can see, the reload time on this machine is very, very fast. Not so fast compared to the Churchill. Kind of a kill still there, but oh well. So there we are with kill number 2. It doesn't look too bad just yet. It looks like we might be able to do this because our T-67 and Churchill 3 broke through their flank and are now what appear to be just kind of sweeping over onto this side. I'm getting into a position so that way if scouts can locate machines for me, I can unleash my firepower once more. Sadly, it doesn't appear that anyone is willing to move up, and our Churchill 3 goes down. And our T1 Heavy is still in the same spot he was 2 minutes ago. Our VK isn't doing much either. Now, I had wished that I'm going to fire a shot in desperation. I am wishing that this shot actually somehow managed to hit and kill, well not kill, but at least damage the Crusader. Preferably kill, just because this would have saved me some problems later on. But sadly, there must have been cover in the way. I didn't get the shot onto him. Which is depressing, because he's going to bother me later on. So, I am trying to find a good position. I don't know if I've been spotted at all, because as I stated, I do not have Sixth Sense yet on this this crew. And here are some targets for me to shoot at. As you can see, I had to turn the tank there slightly because of the really bad firing arc. Securing kill number 3. So far, I am the only one to actually get 3 kills in the entire match, actually. And I haven't done necessarily the most damage up to this point, but still, you know, those are 3 enemy tanks that aren't going to be able to shoot back at us. Our VK is finally moving up and doing something useful, but not enough to the point where I'm going to actually be able to use it. Like, he's just kind of sitting there right now, and I am waiting for him to hopefully find me some targets to shoot at. I'm trying to get it so that way the bushes are in a position so that way no one can really spot me, but I also want it to be so that way if I fire, I've got at least some more cover in between me and whatever I'm going to be shooting at. Just kind of watching, and there we go. Now, the penetration on this gun is sometimes a little annoying. So, obviously this would have probably been a much better scenario for using the APCR, but I mean, it's completely up to what you want to do. That shot completely missed. Didn't penetrate, and now I'm just aiming for the... Yeah. So, kill number 4, and... oh, here comes some more tanks. Shot number 1 completely misses. Shot number 2 finishes him off. I know I've been spotted at this point, it only makes sense. So I'm just trying to find a place where I can go back into concealment. I'm the only one carrying our team at this point. Because, yeah, I'm the only one in the entire match with 5 kills. And considering all we have is artillery, this poor tier 3 artillery, tier 5 tank destroyer, and an AFK T1 heavy.
Target acquired. Let's find another target. Ready to fire. I don't see the target.
So, just a blind shot. That one actually didn't hit, and you'll see why soon enough. So, I've decided, oh, what do you know? Our T1 heavy is actually moving now. What do you know? This guy is either bot or just really, really bad. Like, if he had been somewhat competent, this game probably would have played out in a much different way. And, of course, he gets set on fire, so I can't even use him to spot things for me. This was a very, very depressing game, because I knew almost at the instant that I saw our T1 Heavy was camping and not moving. Yeah. So, now I'm putting effective fire into this Stug. Back off, I do not want to take a return shot from him. I know I've been spotted. Artillery is going to be homing in on me. I need to break contact and get into cover. This isn't looking good. I mean, it's just me. The tier 3 artillery, he can't really do a whole lot himself. He can help me spot targets and do damage, but that's about it. Waiting for this Slug to come back up again, checking to see if I'm mostly concealed, which I am. Artillery is complimenting me on doing a good job. As you can see, this is the point where I wish that I had managed to get the penetrating hit all that time ago. And this is going to be something that's really going to bother me in a second. I don't know where he's going, but yeah. My shot somehow manages to bounce. Second shot finishes him off, but if I had managed to do that in the first place, he would have been dead, and I would not have taken damage. And here comes that Panzer IV-H. Actually, that shot, it looks like it might have actually penetrated, surprisingly. But yeah, this wasn't going to go well. Just trying to effectively try to use my armor, but I mean, it doesn't. There's none on this tank. And sadly, that is the end of my killing spree. I got 6 kills. Yeah. I didn't actually get high caliber. The Crusader got that, which was good for him, you know. Light tank doing over 2,000 damage in a tier 5 match. That's pretty good. I walked away with this on this match with first class mastery badge and Top Gun. That was basically it. And this would have ended so much better if our T1 Heavy actually wasn't bad. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. So, that is replay number 1. That gives you mostly a feel for how it plays as maneuverability. This next replay is going to be the game I got my mastery badge in, and kind of how this would face off against tier 6s. Alright, so we're back. And this is probably the worst matchmaking you're going to see in this machine. Unless you pair up with another tier 5 tank destroyer. This is by far the worst matchmaking you're going to see, because this thing can only see tier 6 matches. So you really don't have to worry whenever you basically you can be prepared to penetrate everything you come up against in this machine. So that's definitely something to look forward to if you plan on acquiring this.
Let's go.
So I actually, there have been very few instances that I've been a tank destroyer on this side of the map. Uh, so I'm actually, this is the first time I've tried this position on this side of the map. First time ever. And this was only recently too. So, without having Sixth Sense, this is going to be a, well, this isn't going to be the best position, I can already tell. Just because I can't tell if I've been spotted, and tank destroyers like to sit on the opposing ridge and put fire into the tank sitting over here. So instead, I'm getting into a position where I can put shots into the tanks that are coming along. But as you can probably guess, my team seems to be completely incompetent, and if you look on my mini-map, all of them are going to the north. Basically, it's the artillery and 4 tank destroyers holding this entire flank, and we have no idea what's coming because no one went that way at all. And it's obviously at this point that I'm realizing, okay, we need to get into a position where I can defend this. This just wasn't looking that great at the beginning. Just because all of them are now stopped right there, or being stopped by what the only thing they can see, which is a Marder 38T. Just kind of taking a look as to where that Stug was facing. Doesn't appear he's noticed that this flank is completely empty yet. So, we are sitting here, waiting, and the entire team just appears to be oblivious to the fact that this flank is completely unguarded. And very, very shortly, you're going to be seeing probably about half of their team trying to pile up over that ridge. So, we're just going to sit here, and here they come. M3 Lee, first shot, of course, misses. I mean, that's just kind of how it usually works out for me. He's more focused on the artillery, which is going to be his undoing. KV-85. And here's the somewhat shoddy penetration. Obviously, the artillery is not going to be focusing in on us. Shot somehow manages to bounce, putting one right through the turret just because that is the weakest spot from this angle. And here we go. This is basically all of the forces that they could spare to come up this flank. And I'm trying to find a more effective position because the artillery is going to be expecting me to come back in that position. So they might be pre-aimed, and there's a Wolverine. Sadly, he backs away before I can get a shot into him. And then there's an SU-100I. First shot appears to probably have hit the gun mantlet. Second shot does not. And, you know, for basically leaving that flank completely unguarded, we're doing pretty good for defending it. Because nothing but a bunch of Tier 5 and Tier 4 tank destroyers were holding it. I don't want to drive out in front of this KV-85 until I know what gun he's using. It is not the 122, so I'm going to put shots into him. And it's kind of funny just because how much the enemy team is missing me at this point. Bounce another shot. Another shot misses. that one hits the Excelsior,
Gotcha.
take down the KV-85,
Critical hit.
and the shots on the Excelsior are pretty dodgy. Surprisingly, they've all penetrated up to this point. And that's the first damaging hit I've taken.
That one didn't go through.
And then the second one, and I'm just alright with letting them finish the Excelsior off at this point. I don't feel like driving back out and taking another hit. So I'm just going to lie and wait. If I can get another shot, I can get another shot. If not, doesn't really matter. I've secured one kill on a tier 6 heavy tank and done a fair bit of damage in the process. So there we go. We've capped, and they finished off the Excelsior. So that was my Mastery Badge game. Basically, I got high caliber, it did almost 2,000 damage in total, and although I got one kill, all of the experience I got from shooting at those tanks over there managed to get me the Mastery Badge. And this was probably the 50th battle I actually had in this tank. So, yeah. Do I recommend this machine? Yeah, definitely. If you like driving tank destroyers, and more specifically Russian tank destroyers, this is definitely something you're going to want to look at. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to say that this machine isn't very good. Well, I guess in some instances, yes, this machine isn't the best thing, but that doesn't mean that it's not fun to drive. Like this, I actually have a lot of fun driving this machine, and my win rating in it actually is surprisingly good. I guess it's just because I'm really lucky or something, but it's just a fun machine to drive. So if you happen to like Russian tank destroyers or just tank destroyers in general, you might want to pick this thing up if you've got the gold for it, just because it is, well, up until a few patches ago, it was rare, extremely rare. You could never find this thing at all, and it's, I guess this is the biggest selling point, it's just a fun thing to drive. So that is my review of the SU-85I, the Tier 5 Russian premium tank destroyer. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Take care.